Let me check the iPhone 15.
Brother, this is my cigar, bro. Fuck they come out.
All praise is double honors due to Yahweh by Hashem Mashiach or Malak Yahweh Shai. Right back at it again on another mighty Shabbat. Can you bring out Psalms chapter 133, verse 1?
The book of Psalms, chapter 133 and verse 1. Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity.
All right, there's a lot of beautiful things that's just magnificent before the eyes of God. Go to Sirach 25 and 1. There's a lot of beautiful things. One of them is brethren dwelling together in unity. So let's find out a few more. Go to Sirach chapter 25, verse 1.
It's the book of Sirach, chapter 25 and verse 1. In three things I was beautified and stood up beautiful, both before the Most High and men.
So this too is also beautiful before not only man, but before the Most High. Continue.
The unity of brethren.
The what?
The unity of brethren.
The what?
The unity of brethren.
The unity of brethren is beautiful before the eyes of God. Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. After all, he said, when 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, then I'm in the midst of you. Go ahead.
The love of neighbors.
The what?
The love of neighbors.
The love of neighbors. Keeping the words of God, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, is beautiful. It's immaculate before his eyes. There's nothing better than that. Go ahead.
A man and a wife that agree together.
Of course, a man and a wife that agree together. That's always common. So with that, go back to Psalms 133, verse 1 again.
It's the book of Psalms, chapter 133 and verse 1. Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity.
Right, and especially on a beautiful day like this, a beautiful week like this, which is none other than the Feast of Dedication. Now, for those who don't know, we're going to go into the history. It's not going to be the most in-depth, but nevertheless, it will be history, touched on the Hasmonean dynasty, right? We'll be touching on the Seleucid dynasty, right? And a few others, including the Ptolemy and Cassidy, right? And all of these other historical figures that we've understood through our research and through our history. This is our history. All right, go to Sirach 33 and verse 9.
It's the book of Sirach, chapter 33 and verse 9. Some of them hath he made high days and hallowed them, and some of them hath he made ordinary days.
All right, this isn't an ordinary day. This isn't a day like an average Monday where you go to work, you wash it. It's not that type of day, all right? It's not the Super Bowl, not that we even care about that. This isn't the so-called glorified days of the world. This is a beautiful feast week commemorating us rededicating the temple after atrocities and all manner of wickedness was performed in the temples by wicked as men, such as Jason, Menelaus, Antiochus, and the list goes on. Dedicated to Bacchus and other strange foreign gods that our forefather never knew. And so remembering the days of old helps us understand who we are as a people. With that, go to Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 7.
It's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 32 and verse 7. Remember the days of old.
What do you say?
Remember the days of old.
Go ahead.
Consider the years of many generations.
And this day, this week, we're going to definitely remember the days of old. Because they're going to teach us a lot of things. They teach us how to be mighty men, how to be valiant when it comes to war, how to get our life in order. For us to also remember what's most important in this life. On this side of the earth, what's most important. And that's giving you everything to the Most High. Because in the story of the Maccabees, they gave everything to the Most High. They didn't care about their body. They even told you, right? The wives and children were in the least of their account. Because they're so busy trying to make sure the Lord comes first. Go ahead. And chiefly, it's like I also want to mention when the Lord comes first, and when you give all your time, not all your time, but when you give a lot of your energy to the Lord, then everything else is going to fall in suit and fall in line, such as your family, your household, and things of that nature. With that, you continue.
Consider the years of many generations. Ask thy father, and he will show thee. Thy elders, and they will tell thee.
Right, we're going to definitely ask our elders. We're going to inquire. But how do we do that? and we search and seek. Bring out Sirach, chapter 6, verse 33. You can set up verse 36.
It's the book of Sirach, chapter 6, and verse 36. And if thou seest a man of understanding, get thee betimes unto him.
It's like you start at verse 27.
Uh,
Start at verse 26.
It's the book of Sirach, chapter 6, and verse 26. Come unto her with thy whole heart, and keep her ways with all thy power.
Similarly, how it's mentioned in the law, the Torah in Deuteronomy 6 and verse 4, right? You have to come into the Lord with thy whole heart. You have to serve him in all honesty and sincerity. Go ahead.
Search and seek.
What did it say?
Search and seek. And she shall be made known unto thee. And when thou hast gotten hold of her, let her not go.
Right, you don't want to let go of this knowledge, because what's about to be unfolded is a lot of wisdom through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shai, such as the history, the maps, right? We may even go into the topography, the formations, right? You may think, well, this is nothing. What does that have to do with me? How is it going to help me get to the kingdom? Well, brother, this is your history,
Right.
and you don't know your history. But I bet you can name all the basketball players. I bet you can name at least 5 presidents. I bet you can go into the War of 1812 and a war of the damn Revolutionary War of George Washington, and you know certain laws of the land. You know a lot of this culture's history. And by this culture, I mean American culture. You know their culture down to the T.
Right.
You go into the history what happened in the 60s and the 70s. You know about the Roaring 20s. I mean, you know about all these weird things and facts and information from Esau. Why wouldn't you want to know about your heritage and your people?
Right.
Get John chapter 10, verse 22. Right? Our forefathers, they searched and seeked. And as a result, it helped them magnify themselves. It's like they magnify themselves on another level for the Spirit.
It's the book of John, chapter 10, and verse 22. And it was at Jerusalem, the feast of dedication.
The feast of what?
The feast of
dedication.
Hold on, this is about 100 years later, 100 plus years later. They're still doing a feast of dedication.
Right.
Because they searched and seeked. They remembered the days of old, even as we do unto this very day and hour.
Can we go to Job chapter 8 and verse 8? Right? So like the brother said, we got to seek out the search of our fathers, man. We got to dive into this history, get the understanding, and then you're going to be counted as a wise man, because the people in the world, they're not going into the history, man. They're not going into the different wars, the Diadochi, right? The 6 Macedonian generals. But guess what? Us, we going through these different things, we're going to stand out by default. They're like, dang, how do you know that? All right? You're wise in that era. Why? Because a lot of people is not doing what the men of the Lord are doing. All right? A lot of people don't even know their own history. A lot of people don't even know stuff about themselves. They 34 years old, still trying to find themselves out. Right? Getting that aftershave. Right? Still trying to find themselves. Eve be lost to their 40s. Dyeing her head pink, still trying to find herself. Cutting it off. Guess what? You know yourself when you come back to the Lord.
Right.
When you come back to your history, your heritage, and you knowing who you are as an Israelite. You can bring that out.
It's the book of Job, chapter 8 and verse 8. For inquire, I pray thee, of the former age.
It says what?
For inquire, I pray thee, of the former age.
So you gotta make sure you inquire, man. You want every brother know that feeling. You want to know about your history, man. You want to know what happened in times past. You want to know when the end of the world is. You want to know these things. So you have to inquire at a former age. Read on.
And prepare thyself to the search of their fathers.
To the what?
To the search of their
Yeah,
fathers.
you gotta search your fathers, man. Because your fathers, you didn't know your fathers were great men. Great men of antiquity, right? Great men of war, men of stature, kings. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, the children of the prophets. Royalty, right? I mean, men that was beloved by the Most High, that was found without God. All right, I got one more. Sirach 5:15. All right, Sirach chapter 5:15. So like the brother said, we're going to pull up the history, the maps. All right, some archaeology going into this thing, into the Hasmonean dynasty. Right up.
It's the book of Sirach, chapter 5, and verse 15. Be not ignorant of anything.
It says what?
Be not ignorant of anything.
Right, you really don't want to be ignorant of anything. Alright, whether it's how to change a tire, alright, how to water in the garden, right, how to make it smooth. You really don't want to be ignorant of anything. How to grill. All things you want to know. Alright, that's what a wise man is going to do. You want?
In a great matter or a small.
And it what?
In a great matter or a small.
See that what is small, a great people think history is small. If you don't know your history, you don't know you dang sure don't know who you are. You don't know what's going on, and you can be told anything and you're gonna believe it.
Right.
Alright? So you gotta know the great things and you gotta know the so-called small things. You got it.
Bring out Psalms chapter 85, verse 11.
It's the book of Psalms, chapter 85, and verse 11. Truth shall spring up. Truth shall spring out of the earth,
Right?
and righteousness shall look down from heaven.
Right, so truth is going to spring out of the earth. Right? On a spiritual level, I mean, the truth is being brought out on tenfold. Especially by the hand of social media. That's exactly why the Most High really created this. Just so His word can be magnified. Right? So chiefly His word can go out throughout the four corners of the world. Bring it out again.
It's the book of Psalms, chapter 85 and 11. Truth shall spring out of the earth,
Right?
and righteousness.
And even on a physical level, right? You have the truth springing out of the earth. You have certain artifacts. You have coins. You have certain old cities that still are found or being found from Jerusalem and things of that nature. All further proving the validity of the scriptures. Because again, people have a hard time believing in history because I don't see that. Where is it at on earth? Well, there's a lot of information. There's a lot of historians, such as Josephus, although he may not be a 1,000,000% accurate. Nevertheless, you have famous historians such as him, and Tacitus. You have a lot of historians, and they're witnesses, right? They're witnesses, and they have a strong account of what happened and transpired in the past. With that, you can bring out Romans 15 and 4.
It's the book of Romans, chapter 15 and verse 4. For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we, through patience and comfort of the scriptures, might have hope.
And we might have hope. That's right. And so as we continue, or as we begin to read the story and start with the history, I mean, the end goal is to have hope. Because we know the Lord doesn't fail us, and He doesn't neglect us. He's not going to not hear our cries. And you know this by reading. That's why the Lord said, blessed is he that readeth. Because through reading, you're going to gain that faith. You're going to gain that hope. You're going to realize what's wrong with you. You're going to realize how to better yourself. So blessed is he that readeth. I got one more. You can bring out Matthew 18 and 16.
It's the book of Matthew, chapter 18 and verse 16. But if he would not hear thee, then take with thee one or two more, that in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses every word may be established.
So it's going to be established by the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, right? That this history is true. Go to 1 Corinthians 14 and 40.
It's the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 14 and verse 40. Let all things be done decently and in order.
No, out of order.
Decently and in order.
It's like a sloppy Joe.
Order.
Right, decently and in order. With that, let's start with the beginning. All right, we'll have to go to the book of Daniel, the 7th chapter. I mean, think of why Daniel? That we're talking about the Maccabees brothers. Well, we gotta go into prophecy as well. This is a prophetic book. So you can bring that out. Daniel chapter 7, verse 1.
It's the book of Daniel, chapter 7, verse 1. In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream, and visions of his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream, and told the sum of the matters. Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, behold, the 4 winds of the heaven strove upon the great sea, And the 4 great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another.
Right now, beast is of course none other than man. It can also represent nations. Let's bring out an example. Bring out Micah chapter 2, verse 14.
It's the book of Micah, chapter 2, and verse
Start verse 12.
12. I will surely assemble, O Jacob, all of thee. I will surely gather the remnant of Israel. I will put them together as the sheep of Basra, as the flock in the as the flock in the midst of their fold.
So Israel is personified as sheep, right? This is a poetic, very prolific book. And so you're going to hear a lot of dark parables, dark sayings, things that may sound strange to the average reader. But through the Spirit and understanding, we understand that, we can dissect it. Right. You got it.
Yeah, kind of. Ecclesiastes 3:16. Right, so like the brother said, the Bible is very poetic. A lot of similitudes, dark parables, things that's not literal, a lot of hyperboles, things that's exaggerated. All of this stuff you learn in grammar school. Now, a lot of us, we probably didn't pay attention. All right, I was one of those men, I didn't really pay attention to that. Similes and metaphors. But guess what? If you read the Bible, you have to understand that, or else your understanding is going to be off. Because you might read Revelation 14:1, you might say, when it says, you seen a lamb with 144,000, a lot of people think that lamb is literal. Alright? No, Yahweh Shai is referred to as a lamb. Alright? So you can bring that out.
Verse 16.
Yeah.
Book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3 and verse 16. And moreover, I saw under the sun the place of judgment, that wickedness was there, and that the place of righteousness, that iniquity was there. I said in my heart, the Most High shall judge the righteous and the wicked, for there is a time there for every purpose and for every work. I said in my heart concerning the estate of the sons of men,
Right.
that the Most High may manifest them, and that they may see that they themselves are beasts.
That what?
That they themselves are beasts.
So men are beasts, man. Look how men operate. Men operate just like beasts. Alright? Beasts don't know anything. Beasts don't know right from wrong. So what do men do? Don't know right from wrong. Like Eve might say you a dog. Because dogs, guess what? They do anything, man. Sleep with anything. Vomit, eat it again. Walk around in circles. Had a tongue out. And guess what Jake do? The exact same. So men are beasts. Read on.
Verse 19. For that which befalleth the sons of men befalleth beasts.
Right?
Even one thing befalleth them. As the one dieth, so dieth the other. Yea, they have all one breath, so that a man have no preeminence above a beast, for all is vanity.
Right, and that's humbling, man, to know that, guess what, you just the same, and you gotta remind yourself, hey, I'm just a beast, man. We all going to the same place. I don't have no preeminence. Alright? That's how you gotta view this thing. So, according to the Bible, men are beasts. I got one more precept, Psalm 73:22. Right, Psalm chapter 73 and 22.
It's the book of Psalms, chapter 73 and verse 22. So foolish was I, and ignorant.
Right?
I was as a beast before thee.
See, that's what David said, I was as a beast. When you read 2nd Ezra chapter 11, you read about an eagle. That Roman Empire is talking about that eagle. So even kingdoms, as you're going to read in the scriptures, are referred to as beasts. As we're going to read in Daniel 7.
That's right. In Daniel 7 and 8, they kind of shake hands here and there. So you can go read Daniel chapter 7 and 2 again.
It's the book of Daniel, chapter 7 and verse 2. Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, behold, the 4 winds of the heaven strove upon the great sea, and the 4 beasts came up from the sea, diverse.
Right here. Read 3 again.
And 4 great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another.
Right? Each one was diverse in their culture, their tongue, even in how they perform leadership. Go ahead.
Verse 4. The first was like a lion, and had eagle's wings.
Oh, wait a minute. Does anybody know who this lion was?
Babylonians.
Babylon, right? Go ahead.
I beheld the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth, and made stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it.
Right, in other words, you see the slide here speaks about their destruction and their downfall. Can you bring out Sirach chapter 10 and verse 4?
It's the book of Sirach, chapter 10 and verse 4. The power of the earth is in the hand of the Lord, and in due time he will set over it one that is profitable.
So throughout the history of man, you have one major company, one major nation after another. And they all fell because they weren't profitable. None of them. Jump down to verse, slightly go to Proverbs 21 and 1. None of these men were profitable. But that's by the hand of the Most High God.
It's the book of Proverbs, chapter 21, verse 1. The king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. As the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will.
That's right. So he controls these men. The Most High can set up you from the dust, or he can bring you down from the heavens into the dust. Go back to Sirach chapter 10, verse 8.
It's the book of Sirach, chapter 10 and verse 8. Because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches gotten by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people unto another.
And that's really what I want to focus on. How each kingdom is translated from one into another. So all plays an important role. Continue. Back to Daniel chapter 7, verse 4. One more time.
Daniel chapter 7 verse 4. The first was like a lion and had eagle's wings. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth.
And does anybody know who was before the Babylonians? Or who took down the Babylonians?
Persians. The Medes and the Persians.
Medo-Persian.
And who did the Babylonians slug in? Who was before the Babylonians?
Israel and all the countries in the land of the east. Moab, Edom.
Now, what major kingdom? The Assyrians. Right? You got the Assyrians up in their thing. Right? But the Babylonians took them down. You read about that in the book of Kings. Right? That's right, 2 Kings. So, again, read verse 4.
Verse 4. The first was like a lion and had eagle's wings. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth, and made it stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it.
Right?
And behold, another beast, a second, like to a bear, and it raised up itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs.
Now, who's this bear?
Medo-Persians.
God.
Right. The Medo-Persian Empire. And it had 3 ribs in its mouth. Does anybody know who those ribs were?
Yeah.
Lydia,
Egypt, and Babylon.
That's right. Right, those are other minor little cities and empires that was taken down by the Medo-Persians. Go ahead.
And it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it. And they said thus unto it, Arise, devour much flesh. After this I beheld, and lo, another, like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads.
Well, hold on. Who's this leopard?
Greeks.
Alexander.
That's right. It's the Greeks.
Freaks.
Right? We call them the freaks, as the brother said. Right? So just recap. The Persian and Medo Empire, right? They took down the Babylonians. Go ahead.
And dominion was given to it. Verse 7. After this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly. And it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns.
Anybody know who this last beast
The
is?
Romans.
Roman Republic.
The EU.
Romans.
I'm looking for another answer.
Edomites.
Let's see Esau.
European Union.
Well, let's keep
You
reading.
said the, wait, you said when you said a
Yeah, who is this last big beast?
The
America.
end,
America.
the end, or the big beast?
The UN?
Truly is Rome. and
It's really the Roman
Babylon,
Empire.
or America, the extension of Rome.
Well, let's read it again.
Verse 7. After this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces. And
Now, real quick, understand that this iron represents his might, especially his military. Go ahead.
and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns.
Oh,
It's
that's,
America.
that's the EU, European Union.
Go ahead.
I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And behold,
Now, hold on. You know, we kind of going here and there a little. Let's pause and dissect this real quick. Let's dive into it. So, I want you to read verse 6 again.
verse 6.
Uh,
After this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard,
So this leopard, as the brothers mentioned, this is the kingdom and rulership of Alexander, the Macedonians. Go ahead.
which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl.
It had 4 wings. Does anybody know what these wings represent?
Nah, he's talking about the four, it's 4 heads and 4 wings.
Talking about the 4 wings.
That's the second battle or the first?
The Diadochi.
You talking about the 4 generals?
It's
That's
talking
right.
about
The 4
Cassander.
big generals, right? Ptolemy, Seleucus, Cassander, and Lysimachus. This ties into First Maccabees. So go ahead.
Of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it.
Right, the dominion was given to those 4 heads. Right, they're one and the same. Now we're not going to jump to 7 because that kind of dives into something else a little bit, right? But again, yeah, that is the EU. So with that, you can go to First Maccabees. Wait a minute. You can go to. You can go to First Maccabees 1. And 1.
It's the book of Maccabees, chapter 1, and verse 1.
Yeah.
And it happened after that, Alexander, the son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Shittim, had smitten King Darius, king of the Persians, and Medes, that he reigned in his stead, the first over Greece.
Hold that. Go back to Daniel chapter 7 and read verse 5. 5 and 6. We're going to match this up. This is prophecy.
It's the book of Daniel, chapter 7, verse 5. And behold, another beast, a second like to a bear, and it raised up itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it.
Again, these are the Persians. If you want to learn more about the Persian Empire, you can read Esther, right? You can read Daniel, right in the beginning. Go ahead.
Between the teeth of it, and they said thus unto it, Arise, devour much flesh. After this I beheld, and lo, another.
And surely they did. I mean, the Persians, they went on a rampage. Right. Let's go into it real quick. Just for representation. Right, now for those who may want to know, who may love history, for the scholars out there, this is World History Encyclopedia, a map of the ancient world. So let's dive back in time, see what was happening around 530 BCE. And surely you can see the Persian Empire. Matter of fact, let's go to Esther. Let's go to the book of Esther, 1 and 1. Right, this is the Persian Empire. All these areas, over 120 provinces. Bring it on.
It's the book of Esther, chapter 1 and verse 1. Now it came to pass in the days of Asarius. This is Asarius, which reigned from India even to Ethiopia, over 127 provinces.
Wait, read that again.
Now it came to pass in the days of Asarius. This is Asarius, which reigned from India even into Ethiopia, over 127 provinces.
And here you see, all the way from Ethiopia
was further down to India. All this area. And even as you can see Jerusalem. That's a very big empire. You can read that again.
Verse 1. Now it came to pass in the days of Hasarius, this is Hasarius, which reigned from India even unto Ethiopia, over 127 provinces, that in those days, when the king Hasarius sat on the throne of his kingdom, which was in Shushan the palace.
Right, Shushan the palace, go ahead. If I'm not mistaken, over here. And this region, go ahead.
In the 3rd year of his reign, he made a feast unto all his princes and his servants, the pop of Persia and Media, the nobles and princes of the provinces being before him, when he showed the riches of his glorious kingdom and the honor of his excellent majesty, many days, even 180 days. And when these days were expired, the king made a feast unto all the people that were present in Shushan, the palace, both unto small, great and small, 7 days in the court of the garden of the king's palace.
That's right. So that's enough history on the Persians. We just want to bring out the maps to understand, right, and visualize how big their empire was. They had over 120 provinces. So with that, you can go to, where do we leave back up on? You go back to Maccabees? Is that where you were? Yeah.
1 and verse 2.
God.
The book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 1 and verse 2. And made many wars, and won many strongholds, and slew the kings of the earth, and went through to the ends of the earth, and took spoils of many nations.
That's right. Go ahead.
Insomuch that the earth was quiet before him.
The earth was very quiet before him because who's going to stand up to Alexander? Nobody. Matter of fact, we pull out this other historical text. Right.
Okay, you can read that again.
Verse 3. And went through the ends of the earth, and took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him.
Right.
Whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up.
Right, so Alexander the Great, he conquered the known world in about 12 years. As they say, he started at 20, he died at 32. So the whole earth was quiet before him, man. Right? Even Esau, now they talk about Alexander the Great. Like he was the best military man ever.
Yep.
Alright? Because the stuff he did. And he was to the point where, you know, he was sad, man, when you go into the history. Because he didn't have nobody to take down. So the Most High gives certain men that authority. Let's go to Daniel 4 and 17. Alright? The Most High gives certain men that power and authority to do his will. And it was set up by the Most High for Alexander the Great to do that.
The book of Daniel, chapter 4 and verse 17. This matter is by the decree of the watchers, and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men.
That the what?
That the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men.
Right, so the Most High, he rules in the kingdom of men. Read on. Is it more than that?
Yeah. And giveth it to whomsoever he will, and setteth up over it the basis of men.
See that? Hey, Alexander the Great, you see him in real life, you say, man, this dude is a base man. Guess what? The Most High chose that man to conquer the earth in 12 years. So that, you said what?
So that's crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy. Alright, you gotta have some type of might to do that. The whole world be silent before you. Alright, but just like any man, he fell to his lust, his strange lust. Right? You would think that another man would take him down. Conquer him, he gets shot in war, that's how he died. No. The only thing that took him out was AIDS. Alright? That's what stopped him.
That's right.
See that? So that's what it means in verse number 2.
Yeah. He was a pervert.
Right.
He was a sick freak. That's right. So, so here's a little bit of the battles that he won. Right, Alexander the Great beat Persia by winning several key battles and sieges. The Battle of Granicus, And that's 33, it's like in 334 BCE, where Alexander crossed the river and defeated a large Persian army led by satraps. And so on and so forth. For those who love history, I definitely dive into this battle. That's a significant one. And the Battle of Guatemala, right, where Alexander used his cavalry and phalanx to break through the Persian lines and force Darius to flee.
I had a real good point.
Come.
And the reason he conquered a lot of stuff, these men had different formations.
Yeah.
Nobody ever seen a phalanx formation. If you search it up, you will see it on top. They all had long spears. It was a formation they had that nobody knew how to beat. Also, that's why the Romans beat them, because they had another formation called the Legion, and they beat them with shields. So that's why he couldn't be beaten. He had a different type of formation. The Flemings.
This is what you call military science. He's always got a term for something. The study of causes and tactical principles of warfare. Bring out Luke chapter 14, verse 23, Prophet Shah.
So go to images.
It's the book of Luke, chapter 14, and verse 23. And the Lord said unto the servant, Go out into the highways and hedges, and compel them to come in, that my house may be filled.
Go ahead.
For I say unto you, that none of those men which were bidden shall taste of my supper.
I want you to jump down. Or the king prepares before he goes to war. You can jump down to 30. You said 30.
30. Book of Luke, chapter 14, and verse 30. Saying, this man began to build and was not able to finish.
Go ahead.
Or what king going to make war against another king sitteth not down first and consulteth whether he be able with 10,000 to meet him that cometh against him with 20,000.
Right. So yeah, we know Esau is wicked and perverted, but that doesn't take away his military intelligence and understanding how to be tactical in warfare. After all, he was blessed with the sword. So why wouldn't he be good at this? Stop thinking Esau is always a caveman. Not to exalt him, but you gotta understand that is his gift to be blessed with the sword. Therefore, we can't be too surprised as if he's strong in his military might. Even unto this very day.
Right.
Esau, the so-called modern day Babylonians, which we may call Americans, they are still one of the strongest militaries.
That's facts.
What's the images real quick?
I want to read. I got you. I want to read this real quick. Phalanx and military science, tactical formation consisting of a block of heavily armed infantry standing shoulder to shoulder.
7 ranks deep. And
Just like, oh wait, I got a better one.
yeah. Nobody ever seen that, bro.
What can you do to this?
Them spears.
Back in the ancient, obviously we took them down. We can take them, but the other nations, they couldn't do nothing to that. How do you fight people like that with long staffs just running towards you?
Naked.
The hell?
Naked.
You said what?
They was naked.
Yeah,
They
that's
fought naked too.
it was fucking naked, unfortunately.
Yeah, bro. You couldn't shoot arrows.
Yeah, you're not shooting arrows at that.
You couldn't really do nothing.
And you see the advantage they have if people running towards them, they running right into knives. It's the knife war.
That's what made him great. That formation.
Yeah.
Con, I got a precept.
Okay, you got it.
Con, we go to Proverbs 24 and 6. So like the brothers going into, you have different, war formations. You have guerrilla warfare. You read Joshua chapter 8. Joshua set up an ambush. All right, men in the ancient world, they will hide out, blend in. All right, and you think, well, they might set some men right here, and you thinking, oh yeah, we're gonna take these men down. It's just 10 of them. Next thing you know, you find them, and 50 men pop out of nowhere. Now you destroyed. So you got this. This is how things was running back then. You have elephants, and elephants played a major role in war back then. And you see an elephant, you're like, what the hell? All right, you think kind of big, strong. All right, you bring that up, man.
It's the book of Proverbs, chapter 24 and verse 6. For by wise counsel thou shalt make thy war.
It says what?
For by wise counsel thou shalt make thy war.
Right?
and in the multitude of counselors there is safety.
See that? So you gotta make your war with good counsel, man. All right, I gotta pull it up, but it's this one formation. I believe the last you watched that movie 300. All they did, they just stopped spears all in the air and they just all fall on you. All right. Yeah, they shot it up like 300 men to shoot an arrow at one time, and it would just all fall on you.
Yeah.
All right, and then you take out a lot of men like that. So that's how things was done in the ancient world before, you know, nuclear warheads came about and things of that nature.
Esau during the Dark Ages, he copied Greek, that formation, that bunch of arrows and the drop.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of these things, vortex, they get, you know, from us, they get from, just like with the Native Americans. They took the camouflage, because Native Americans, they was climbing up trees, hiding in trees, right? Getting poisonous things, spitting it at them.
The ghillie suits.
Yeah, ghillie suits.
Traps.
Booby traps. All right, setting, you know, holes. You might just start running, just fall into a ditch. All right.
Yeah. That's right. Why do you think a lot of military? Well, I would say I'll put it like this. I'll phrase it like this: America got inspired by a lot of the Gadites, and so we hear a lot of so-called Native American terms used in the military, such as the Apache helicopter, the Tomahawk. They got the ghillie suits, of course. Let me pull up this one account. You can bring out. Bear with me. This is an account of war. If I can find it, I can find it. If I can't, we'll move on. That's quite all right. All right. Let me put this real quick.
Used by the Greek or Hellenic armies, having been created around 700 BC, it was regarded as a form of heavy infantry, and its soldiers were known as hoplites. As a rule of thumb, the soldier was equipped with a 2.5-meter spear, a large round shield, a short sword, a helmet, chest armor, and greaves. This whole set of equipment would weigh around 35 kilograms, and so the armor was only dressed shortly before battle. In a phalanx, the hoplites remained in a tight formation, basically shoulder to shoulder with their brothers in arms. This was something important for the phalanx's defense, since the shields of a soldier, besides protecting him, covered the right flank of the soldier next to him. Left-handed men were not allowed in a phalanx because of that. To keep the formation unified, a flautist dictated the rhythm of the march. The spear was the phalanx's main weapon, which had an iron spike and a metal latch on the other end. This latch allowed the spear to be stuck in the ground in case of a cavalry attack, and also to keep the weapon properly balanced. In some cases, it could also be used as a bruising weapon, particularly in the case where the spear was broken. The phalanx's wall of spears virtually hampered any form of frontal attack conducted by another infantry division that was not a phalanx as well. This is because they could not hit their opponents without first being stabbed by a spear, and due to their large shields and heavy armor, attacks with items such as arrows, darts, and stones were barely efficient. When in formation, the first two rows of soldiers pointed their spears forward, while the two rows in back tilted their spears at 45 degrees, hence preventing the possibility of having someone trying to launch an attack over the first line of spears. In turn, the soldiers at the back replaced the fallen colleagues and also pushed their colleagues in front, strengthening the formation. Even though the phalanx was virtually impenetrable in terms of front attacks, since, by being quite a solid body, the phalanx had very little mobility and maneuverability. So, generally, the phalanx had its flanks protected by cavalry or light or minor troops.
See that leopard?
The only
And that's what Alexander had in his horses. He actually had leopard skin on him.
military formation capable of constituting a proper threat to a phalanx was another phalanx. When two units of this kind clashed with each other, usually what decided the battle was the expertise and experience of the hoplites units on each side and the number of soldiers in the rear. The powerful Greek phalanx ruled the battlefields in ancient times. Its reign lasted for several centuries until the appearance of the Roman legion, which, due to its mobility
and the Romans is a whole nother story. Right? They got Netflix documentaries, which I recommend to watch. They had a mighty military as well. With that, you go to Exodus chapter 15, verse 3.
It's the book of Exodus chapter 15 and verse 3. The Lord is a man of war. The Lord is his name.
That's right. The Lord is a man of war. So, with that, you go back to First Maccabees. Oh, nope, I want to bring this out real quick. This is Alexander the Great, and this is from a book titled Who's Who in the Bible? An illustrated biographical dictionary. So it literally touches almost everybody. This is Alexander the Great, a youth not quite 20 when he came to power in his homeland of Macedonia. In 336 BC, Alexander reshaped his world before he died 13 years later. His life story told in a brief account in 1 Maccabees chapter 1, 1-7. Macedonia trained Alexander to govern, bring philosophers, Aristotle from Athens to tutor the prince, so on and so forth. That's all I really wanted to get, but it does go deeply into these historical figures. You can go to continue reading.
Verse 4. I'm going to start at verse 3 again. It's the book of 1 Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 3. And went through the ends of the earth and took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him, whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up. And he gathered a mighty strong host, and ruled over countries and nations and kings, who became tributaries unto him. And after these things he fell sick, and perceived that he should die.
And that includes Jerusalem, right? We became tributaries unto him as well during that time. Go ahead.
Wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable, and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive. So Alexander reigned 12 years, and then he died.
Right? You got it.
Right, so when you read verse 6, it says, wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable, and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive. You know, that's going, you have some called, in history called the Diadochi. Right, you have the wars of the Diadochi. And not only that, you had, I had this pulled up, alright, the Macedonian generals. You have the 6 Macedonian generals, the main Macedonian generals, alright, the greatest Alexander's generals that was fighting over, you know, his land. And a lot of these men, they grew up with him. Alright. So when you read it, it says the Macedonian generals carved the empire up after Alexander's death in 323 BC. These were the successors, the Diadochi. That's what the word Diadochi means, successors. Founder of states and dynasties, notably Antipater, Perdiccas, Ptolemy I, Seleucus I, Antigonus I, and Lycomaxus. So there's some good history to go into as well.
Did he give a date
For these men.
Right, so here you see the Ptolemaic dynasty who ran over Egypt, even Alexandria. You read about this in Maccabees as well. You got the Seleucid Empire. Yeah, a lot of Persia, and even into India.
Wow. Look at that. Persia, right?
Does anybody remember who had Thrace?
Lysimachus? It's like Cassander. said?
Yeah, that might have been
I
Cassidy.
think it's Cassidy.
Yeah. They don't really show everybody in this map, but
You can find another map. That's just a special one.
yeah, it's kind of peculiar.
And it's going to other nations too.
But Rome did expand during this time. There used to be a small portion over here and expanded further out.
All Edomites.
Yep. And you also may read about the time where Ptolemy had hope from the Romans to defeat a lot of the Seleucid Empire.
And I think Judah, Maccabees fought with the Romans.
They did, yep, they had a lead as well.
Kind I got one more thing. You can put up the wars and the Diadochi. So if you want to, even if you want to go more in depth on the wars of the Diadochi, you got the certain dates. You know, you had the first war of the Diadochi. I believe it was 5 of them.
It was general at first.
All right, from 322 to 281 BC. So these wars are over multiple years. All right. All right, you got Perdiccas in 321 to 319 BC. You got the Second War, 318 to 316 BC. Third War. You got the Babylonian War, Fourth War. And it gives you the commanders and leaders. You read about Eumenes. You can learn about him, kings and generals as well. Perdiccas, these different successors.
Right. Now you go back.
First Maccabees.
Yeah.
It's the book of First Maccabees, chapter 1 and verse 8. And his servants bear rule every one in his place. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves, so that their sons after them many years, and evils will multiply in the earth.
Wow, evils were multiplied in the earth. Can you go to the book of, let's see, book of Job, chapter 21, verse 8.
It's the book of Job, chapter 21 and verse 8. Their seed is established in their sight with them, and their offspring before their eyes.
And this ties in into all of the descendants of these men, right? The men living a luxurious life. They was living off the fat. These are what you call I forgot what you call them. Great grandkid inherits a lot of the old money, and that's another thing.
Hand-me-downs?
Inheritance.
Hand-me-downs?
Yeah, the heirs and hand-me-downs. I can't remember. That's
what's the name of that thing?
Inheritance.
inheritances.
It's called I've been really talking about.
Trust fund babies.
Yeah, that's what it is.
That's what they are. The trust fund babies. Right. And this is the Ptolemaic dynasty of Egypt, 05 to 30 BC. So read that again in Job 21 and 8.
It's the book of Job, chapter 21 and verse 8. Their seed is established in their sight with them, and their offspring before their eyes.
These are all the men that was established before the eyes of Ptolemy the first sword. Go ahead.
Their houses are safe from fear, neither is the rod of God upon them.
That's right. I mean, it was ruling for this long. You said like 200 years?
That's
Plus
300.
300 years.
Around there. 280, something like that.
Go ahead.
Their bull gendereth and faileth not, their cow calveth and casteth not her calf. They send forth their little ones like a flock, and their children dance. They take the timbrel and harp, and rejoice at the sound of the organ. They spend their days in wealth, and in a moment go down to the grave. Therefore they say unto the Most High, Depart from us, for we desire not the knowledge of thy ways.
And that's the spirit of how these Romans, it's like these Grecians were moving. We don't need the Most High.
Yeah.
I mean, you read about it in the Maccabees. Antiochus was wicked.
Second Maccabees
He was cursing the Lord and saying all profane things towards Israel, as if it was fire coming out of his mouth. And as his brother mentioned, you had Alexander the Great controlling Macedonia and Greece. And then once he died around 323 BCE, circa BCE, conflict known as the Wars of the Diadochi ensued over his massive empire stretching from Greece to India. It was eventually divided among 3 of his most loyal generals and their families. It's only the first and his descendants.
That's their heaven right there, man.
Yeah, this was literally their heaven
Man,
for 300 years. Their heaven just ruling. God knows what type of orders and what type of things they set up and rules. Only the Lord knows.
Yeah.
Even as it says in Maccabees, it was so much history that we had to abridge it into a certain volume. It was so much.
yeah, it is a lot of I ain't gonna lie.
Salakia, even when you read Daniel chapter 11, that covers the over 300 years of history. That covered, Daniel 11 covered from the Persian Empire all the way up to now, when you read it, at the end. So, that's a lot of history.
It says, Therefore, to us that have taken upon us this painful labor of abridging, it was not easy, but a matter of sweat and washing. They had to be diligent. Our forefathers was diligent to consolidate and gather everything together, but not too much. If it was too much, the Bible would be this big.
Yeah. Some of the, I believe that's a precept. We do this Maccabees, some of his wars, it's not even mentioned.
It's not even mentioned. Too much history.
And
It's too mighty.
he was whooping them.
And we only get like a glimpse, just a little bit of the miracles that happened in First Maccabees, the 3rd chapter, that the angels kind of helping us in 2 Maccabees 10 and 30. We only get just a glimpse. Imagine all the other history. Lord knows. You know, so it says abridging is to shorten by omission of words without sacrifice of sense. That's a beautiful definition, and that's exactly what they did. It was condensed.
And we also was way smaller, so it was way more glorious when we won. Way smaller.
Yep.
Way smaller.
And that's probably the greatest feat in all of history. Being able to defeat the Seleucid Empire.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Being able to take down all these mighty, so-called mighty men. Yeah, that's something to be proud of, man.
With no armor.
And man, we got LeBron James for us. Yeah, we had Obama. Every old black man and black woman got a painting of Obama in their house. That's my history. That's he did this great thing. No, he didn't do a damn thing.
First black president.
Yeah, first black president. And he sit back in his chair like he Thanos, we got it. We did it.
I seen it.
You ain't got nothing, Jake. I mean, this is your real history. Not this, but, you know, the history of your forefathers in taking down these dynasties. That's your history.
Right.
That's something to be proud of.
Like Joshua.
You wake up, you kind of feel good. Yeah, that's mighty. Maybe I can be like that. Joshua 10 and 24.
They didn't even read Joshua.
Yeah, and reading this kind of make you want to buy a sword. You want Amazon.
Kind of learn
What kind of sword should I get now? Should I do
archery?
archery? What should I do now?
Right.
I want to be like my forefathers. Jake watched LeBron and Colonel Anthony. I don't know these players, though. Carmelo Anthony. And then they look for balls and kind of shoot all day. Just all day.
Right.
Hey, man, I want a sword after reading Maccabees. I want a buckler. I want some chains, some armor.
Right.
Hey, man, I might want a helmet.
You want to
Kind of
fight
looking
the
very
Navy
kind of
after
mighty.
you want to fight the Navy after you read this book.
Yeah, I feel like fighting the Marines.
Kind of think you can win, man.
Yeah, I feel like you can win anything. And that's what reading does to the spirit. Kind of re-energizes you. Make you realize this is deep. This is important. My history does mean something.
And that's why they want us to read our Bible.
Right.
That's why they didn't want us to read. So we, you know what I'm saying, strengthen ourselves. In 1 Maccabees 9, he strengthened them in the words of the law and the prophets.
That's right.
That's what they wanted, bro.
He told him that mighty dream of him having that sword.
That golden sword.
And he was like, yo, let's go! And it was hyped up, man.
They couldn't let us read that slavery.
Yeah, they couldn't.
They couldn't.
They'll be damned. You know, I might get this. I'm not getting Trident, but you know,
It's
man, I want some stuff.
It's one with the Star of David on it. I'm gonna get one. It's one with the
Kind
Star
of
of David.
kind of looking like a bazooka and C4 and stuff.
Not a
I got a preset.
It's a modern day sword game.
Wait, mine real quick.
Yeah, real fast. It's a quote because you gotta think modern day terms. Everybody want a gun now. Jake just get it. Don't even use the gun. Just want it. Just to it look good.
Right.
But you gotta think about it. Back then, that's what men was getting swords. Yeah, look at my sword, man. Let me see your sword. Right, sharpening it. That's how things was back then. They didn't have guns back then.
kind of polishing it.
Yeah, polishing it,
You got the arch. You got the
custom made.
the armor bearer,
Yeah.
the gold, and the smith.
That's what I was talking about. I'm gonna get that. I'm gonna get that. I ain't gonna lie. It's Star of
You
David.
said, well,
Esau ain't shit without a weapon.
That's right.
that's right. That's right. That's right. That's
I
true
don't want
too.
no weapons. I want to know how to defend myself without a weapon.
That's right.
Yeah, switch.
Yeah, that's what makes a great warrior. Too. Bring out Psalms 144 for that one. That's true. Good point.
Alright.
'Cause, yeah, we have swords and we have blacksmiths, but you best believe we're still skilled with our hands.
She was a David.
Bring it out.
The book of Psalms, chapter 144 and verse 1.
Bring it out.
Blessed be the Lord, my strength, which teaches my hands to war and my fingers to fight.
I mean, David could leap over some walls. I mean, strength lies deeper than just weapons too. But that's the point the elders bringing out. You gotta know how to. Jake don't know how to fight. They just do this. Jake pull up their pants when they fight too.
Right.
You're not ready. Jake don't know how to fight, man. Let's be real. Let's be honest.
Talk about some.
Just making sounds. Muhammad Ali. You don't know no strategy. Your stamina sucks. I mean, fighting is a lot of components to fighting. You really have to have stamina.
God.
You all out of breath fighting. You lost already.
They come at you like they wolves.
Yeah, that's right.
God, Salagi. Can I bring out this precept real quick? This the book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 4 and verse 6. But as soon as it was day, Judas shewed himself in the plain with 3,000 men who nevertheless had neither armor nor swords to their minds. And they saw the camp of the heathen, that it was strong and well harnessed and compassed round about with horsemen, and these were expert in war. So you had, you see, like our forefathers knew how to use these, and they weren't afraid to use these, even though you had the heathen on one side who had pretty much everything. Like the elders say, he's nothing without these weapons. He's nothing without these expert battlements and these war engines and these long swords and spears that's like 6 feet long by themselves.
Yeah.
It's a good point.
I get a quick preach. Can you grab 2 Samuel 23 and 8? Because I ain't like, he made a good point. We 3,000 men of Simon killed 100,000 Edomites also, I think, in that game. But 2 Samuel 23 and verse 8.
The book of 2 Samuel, chapter 23 and verse 8. These be the names of the mighty men whom David had. The Tachmonite that sat in the seat, chief among the captains. The same was Adino, the Enzite. He lifted up his spear against 800, whom he slew at one time.
So one man that's under David can kill 800 men at one time.
Shoo.
I mean, imagine adding David, then Joab. I mean, how could you win that battle, man?
Right.
I ain't heard Alexander do that.
Nah.
He ain't do that. You know what I'm saying?
So like I got one for
That's
you.
cool. We gotta finish real quick. You go back to 1 Maccabees. Where you left off. There's a lot more we gotta go into.
I was at verse 9.
Kinda.
Book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 1 and verse 9. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years. And evils were multiplied in the earth. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been an hostage at Rome. and he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks.
That's right. Go to Daniel chapter 7, verse 9. So like in Daniel chapter 7, verse, who was it?
Yeah.
Daniel 8
8 and 9?
8 and 9.
Okay, you got it.
It's the book,
Yeah, that's it. Yep.
it's the book of Daniel, chapter 8 and verse 9. And out of one of them came forth a little horn, which waxed exceeding great, towards the south and towards the east, and towards the pleasant land.
Who's that? What's that pleasant land?
Israel!
That's right, it's Jerusalem, Israel, Yasharallah, right? He came towards that pleasant land. And when you go deep into the history, they say he came towards that pleasant land after getting his ass whooped by Ptolemy with the help of the Romans. He couldn't do nothing. He came back, he was sick to his stomach, like, what's going on? What y'all doing? Because, you know, we're going to the history, we got it.
Verse 10. And it waxed great even to the host of heaven, and it came down some of the hosts and of the stars to the ground, and stamped upon them. Yea, he magnified himself even to the prince of the host, and by him the daily sacrifice was taken away, and the place of his sanctuary was cast down.
Our daily sacrifices was removed from us. They defiled the altar with pig's blood and all other manner of wickedness. Go to the book of Hosea chapter 1 verse 10 to prove that this is Israel in that pleasant land. Because it mentioned the stars. Even I believe in Genesis, was that 49 and 7? 37 and 9? I'll read it real quick. This is Genesis 37 and 9. And he dreamed yet another dream. This is Joseph. And he dreamed yet another dream and told his brethren and said, Behold, I have dreamed a dream more. And behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obedience, like an obeisance to me. Right? And so we know these 11 stars are his brother, which are the other Israelites. Right? Our forefathers. The same ones that you see in the 12 tribe chart, that's the other 11 outside of Joseph. You can go read Hosea chapter 1 verse 10.
It's the book of Hosea chapter 1 and verse 10. Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, Ye are not my people, there it shall be said unto them, Ye are the sons of the living God.
That's right. And the sands of the sea is very similar to the stars because they're without number. I haven't met one person on earth that can count the stars. It ain't happening. You can go back to Daniel chapter 8. You can start at verse 8 for the sake of time.
Daniel chapter 8 and verse 8. Therefore the he-goat waxed very great, and when he was strong, the great horn was broken.
Right, that he-goat is Alexander. Go ahead.
And for it came up 4 notable ones.
And those 4 notable ones, as we mentioned, who remembers?
4 notable ones.
Yeah, who's those 4 notable men and generals? Not you.
Cassander, Lysimachus, Seleucus, and Ptolemy.
Yeah. And of course he had others, but we touched on the chief. Right? Ptolemy, Cassius, Seleucus, and Lysimachus. Go ahead.
Towards the 4 winds of the heaven. And out of one of them came forth a little horn, which waxed exceeding great towards the south.
This little horn literally waxed great, especially towards the south, which is none other. Let's go back to the map. Let's go back to the map. That's the south. He was over here, and he went towards the south, because remember he came out of the Seleucid Empire. He went south towards Jerusalem, Memphis, and Egypt. Continue.
And towards the east, and towards the pleasant land. And
It's like, especially towards the east, continue.
And it waxed great, even to the host of heaven. And it cast down some of the hosts and of the stars to the ground, and stamped upon them. Yea, he magnified himself even to the prince of the host, and by him the daily sacrifice was taken away, and the place of the sanctuary was cast down. And an host was given him against the daily sacrifice by reason of transgression, and it cast down the truth to the ground, and it practiced and prospered.
Let's pause real quick, right? For those who don't know, Antiochus went by the title Antiochus Epiphanes, which literally means manifested from God. That's what it means when it says in Daniel chapter 8, verse 11, yea, he magnified himself even to the prince of the host. He magnified himself to be the most high. And that's what those Grecians and Romans were known for. They were known for deifying themselves. Dio meaning God, right? They tried to make themselves into a god. Right? And you read about that further in Romans. They said, well, I mean, this is for Diana. Diana was just another woman that they exalted as a god. They did the same thing with Herod. Real quick. Yeah, that was all. Yeah, it's like a usual set of manifestation. That's an epiphany. That's them.
Yeah, you go into the Greek culture, you have something called the Stoics, all right, which is men that practice real discipline. A lot of stuff you see people doing now, like working out, semen retention, yoga, things like that. Men already been doing that years ago, and it started chiefly, with the Greeks. So they getting all of this power, and they think that they gods now. All right, due to their high level of so-called discipline, not dealing with women. All right. Now, yeah, it's some power in that, but guess what? They was taking it to a whole nother level, man. All right.
That's right. That's why it says bodily exercise is profiteth little. Right? Because as the brother said, they tried to make themselves Superman. So let's go back to Daniel. It's like where we left off. So much history. Left. We had Daniel. Yeah, Daniel 8 and 12. Let's like yeah, 12.
I just got a quick question. When it says in the way great even in the host of heaven, isn't that talking about the people of Israel?
Yeah, that's too on another level. But when it says even to the prince of the host, and by him, it's like start going verse 11.
Verse 10.
Verse 10. And it bites great even to the host of heaven, and it casts down some of the host and of the stars to the ground. Right? Yeah, that could be Israel. Right? We are on another level, the host of heaven.
God.
You said verse 12, right?
Yeah.
Verse 12, Daniel 8. And a host was given him against the daily sacrifice by reason of transgression, and it cast down the truth to the ground, and it practiced and prospered.
Wow.
Then I heard.
It's like it real quick. It was practiced and prospered, especially by the hand of first not Onias, but Jason, and then later Menelaus. All right, go ahead.
Then I heard one saint speaking, and another saint said unto that certain saint which spake, how long shall there be division concerning the daily sacrifice and the transgression of the desolation, to give both the sanctuary and the host to be trodden underfoot? And he said unto me, 2,300 days, then shall the sanctuary be cleansed.
For a certain dispensation of time, for a very long period, right? And then it shall be cleansed. Right? And we understand when it was cleansed around that 140. But with that, you can go back to Maccabees, chapter 1.
The book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 1 and verse 11. In those days went there out of Israel wicked men, who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow.
So it's expounding upon Daniel chapter 8 and 11. right? Where it's like where it was practiced and prospered. Go ahead. It's like it's 12.
So this device pleased them well. Then certain of the people were so forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathen. Whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem, according to the customs of the heathen, and made themselves uncircumcised, and forsook the holy covenant.
They forsook the holy covenant. We read about this. We read about more of it in the 4th chapter too. So go ahead.
And joined themselves to the heathen, which were sold to do mischief.
Note that. Go to Proverbs 11 and 21.
Wow.
It was joined into the heathen. Nice, man.
It's the book of Proverbs, chapter 11, verse 21. Though hand join in hand, the wicked shall not be unpunished, but the seed of the righteous shall be delivered.
Right, surely that happened. Who's delivered? But before we get to that beautiful point, let's continue to read.
Maccabees. Book of Maccabees, chapter 1, and verse 16. Now when the kingdom was established before Antiochus, he thought to reign over Egypt, that he may have dominion of 2 realms. Wherefore he entered into Egypt with a great multitude, with chariots, and elephants, and horsemen.
That's right. This is him going towards the south, as we read in the book of Daniel, chapter 8. Go ahead.
And a great navy, and made war against Ptolemy, king of Egypt. But Ptolemy was afraid of him, and fled, and many were wounded to death. Thus they got the strong cities in the land of Egypt, and he took the spoils thereof. And after that, Antiochus had smitten Egypt. He had returned again in 143rd year, and went up against Israel and Jerusalem with a great multitude, and entered proudly into the sanctuary, and took away the golden altar, and the candlestick of light, and all the vessels thereof, and the table of the showbread, and the pouring vessels, and the vials, and the censers of gold, the vial, and the crowns, and the golden ornaments that were before the temple, all which he pulled off. He took also the silver, and the gold, and the precious vessels. Also he took the hidden treasures which he found. And when he had taken all away, he went into his own land, having made a great massacre, and spoken very proudly. Therefore there was a great mourning in Israel, in every place where they were.
Can you hold that? Can you go to Joel chapter 3, verse 5?
God.
It's the book of Joel, chapter 3 and verse 5. Because ye have taken my silver and my gold, and have carried into your temples my goodly and pleasant things.
Go ahead.
The children also of Judah and the children also of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians, that ye may remove them far from their border.
Surely that's what happened. And this is a beautiful point in history, or not a beautiful point, but a great point in history to understand why we refer to as heathen in the New Testament, so-called, and why there were so many people adopting to the culture of the Grecians. Matter of fact, I'll wait for that.
Yes, you should. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go to Daniel chapter 9, 24. Right? So when it says it was a great mourning in Israel, this is also known as the first abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet. Alright? And this was a sad time, man. He wasn't, you gotta think about this. The whole land, you seeing your family getting killed, right? Your village, like you see one of those cartoons or those movies, a whole village getting wiped out. Alright? This was a sad time, huh? Bring that out.
Daniel 9,
24.
It's the book of Daniel, chapter 9, verse 24. 70 weeks are determined upon thy people, and upon thy holy city, to finish the transgression, and to make an end of sins, and to make a reconciliation for iniquity, and to bring in everlasting righteousness, to seal up division, and prophesy, and to anoint the most holy.
Right.
Know therefore and understand that from going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto the Messiah the Prince shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks.
Right, going into the 70 weeks. Daniel, the next chapter, you know what?
The street shall be built again, and the wall, even in troublous times. And after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself, and the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with a flood, and unto the end of the war desolations are to be determined.
Right, read on.
And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week, and in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and oblation to cease, and for the overspreading of abominations he shall make it desolate.
He shall what?
He shall make it desolate.
And that's what happened. Again, this is the first abomination of desolation. Then you had a second one, as brothers know, which was during the time of the Romans. Then you're going to have a third abomination of desolation. All right? Brothers know what that is?
Against
Jacob's
Jerusalem
trouble.
now.
Against us.
Right, against us. All right, so you can also read about, again, the first abomination of desolation in 1 Maccabees 1:54. So link that up. Read that.
Alright, continue on. Give Maccabees, yep.
The book of 1 Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 26. So that the princes and elders mourned, the virgins and young men were made feeble, and the beauty of women was changed. Every bridegroom took up lamentation, and she that sat in the marriage chamber was in heaviness. The land also was moved for the inhabitants thereof, and all the house of Jacob was covered with confusion.
Who's confounded? Well, what the hell is going on? Go ahead.
Verse 29. And after 2 years fully expired, the king sent his chief collector of tribute unto the cities of Judah, who came unto Jerusalem with great multitude,
Right.
and spake peaceable words unto them.
And again, when you go further into the history, Seleucus, like Antiochus, he lost the battle of with the Romans. This is the battle of Antimesia. I have to pull it up, but he lost that great battle, and so he ended up having to pay them, right? And that's why he went to Jerusalem to give us, it's like to make us pay more taxes. Let me see if I can find it. You got it?
I think I know what you're talking about.
Well, if we find it, we'll go back to it for the sake of knowledge. But you can read verse 28 again.
Verse 28. The land also was moved for the inhabitants thereof, and all the house of Jacob was covered with confusion. And after 2 years fully expired, the king sent his chief collector of tribute unto the cities of Judah, who came unto Jerusalem with a great multitude, and spake peaceable words unto them. But all was deceit. For when they had given him credence, he fell suddenly upon the city, and smote it very sore.
It's like, that's what it was. It was the Battle of Magnesia. Right? Modern estimate gives 10,000 dead for the Seleucids, and 5,000 for the Romans. The battle resulted in a decisive Roman pre-gaining victory, which led to the Treaty of Apamea that ended the Seleucid domination in Asia Minor. And per that treaty, we had to pay some money, cough up the dough.
They got beat up.
Yeah, they got whooped by the Romans. But you can go back to 1 Maccabees 1, where you left off.
30. The book of 1 Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 30. And spake peaceable words unto them, but all was deceit. But when they had given him credence, he fell suddenly upon the city, and smote it very sore, and destroyed much people of Israel. And when he had taken the spoils of the city, he set it on fire, and poured down the houses and walls thereof on every side. But the woman and children took they captive, and possessed the cattle. Then builded they the city of David with great and strong wall, and with mighty towers, and made it a stronghold for them. And they put therein a sinful nation, wicked men, and fortified themselves therein. They stored it also with the armor and victuals. And when they had gathered together the spoils of Jerusalem, they laid them up there. and also they became a sore snare. For it was a place to lie in wait against the sanctuary and an evil adversary to Israel. Thus they shed innocent blood on every side of the sanctuary and defiled it, insomuch that the inhabitants of Jerusalem fled because of them. Whereupon the city was made in.
Now, real quick, I wanted to touch on the point where he, in verse 31, I'll read it. And when he had set the spoils of the city set on fire, and pulled down the houses and walls thereof on every side, for the women and children took they captive and possessed their cattle. Then builded they the city of David with great and strong wall, and with mighty towers, and made a stronghold for them. And they put therein a sinful nation, wicked men, and fortified themselves therein. Right? They stored it also with armor and victuals, and when they had gathered together the spoils of Jerusalem, they laid them up there, and so they became a sore snare. Right, that goes into this. The city of Jerusalem was sacked a second time, and the disorder Antiochus established a military Greek citadel called the Arpra in Jerusalem to serve as a stronghold for Hellenized Jews and Greek military garrison. So just a little bit of FYI. But you continue.
Verse 38. Insomuch that the inhabitants of Jerusalem fled because of them, whereupon the city was made an habitation of strangers, and became strange to those that were born in her, and her own children left her. Her sanctuary was laid waste like a wilderness. Her feasts were turned into mourning, her Sabbaths into reproach, her honor into contempt. As had been her glory, so was her dishonor increased, and her excellency was turned into mourning. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote into his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and every one should leave his laws, so that all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion, and sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Sabbath.
And that's what's happened today, right? Babylon is telling you to be like unto himself, which is why you have so-called black men saying they're American. A black man wearing an American shirt saying he's a Republican American that joined the Greek fraternity. Literally all over again. He's influencing these Israelites to be in these fraternities. A Greek fraternity. So that his name and house may be established and continued forever, as it reads in Psalms 49 and 11.
Verse 44. For the king has sent letters by messengers into Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land, and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbath and festival days, and pollute the sanctuary and holy people, set up altars and groves and chapels of idols, and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts. And they should also leave their children uncircumcised, and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanliness and profanation, to the end that they might forget the law and change all the ordinances.
And that ties into Psalms 83, right? To cut Israel off from being a nation. How do you cut a people off from being a nation? You make them forget their culture and their history. And as a result of that, they forget who they are. You just walk outside, look at the next Jake you see. You think he knows who he is? That's the result of slavery in the hand of a so-called white man. Through all of his tactics, his multi-billion-dollar industry, in pharmacy, in the music industry, right? Those are tools set up to make Jake forget who they are. Go ahead.
Verse 50. And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said he should die.
And they even did that to the so-called Native Americans. They say, hey, man, if you're not going to fall in line, get out of here. Right? That's where the old saying, kill the Indian, save the man comes from. They tried to kill that so-called Indian, or in other words, his culture, not his identity, and save the man so he can influence him and pour in his new doctrine.
Kind of, we got a point to add to that, and that's what's going to happen all over again, right? Like the brother said, These the tactics that Esau used, the social media, the music industry. On a deeper level, they want the Israelites to not be a nation anymore.
Right.
That's why you go outside. Just look at the women nowadays. Look at the men. We destroyed, man. Right? But I was just talking to the brothers about that yesterday, man. Right? It brings tears to your eyes. You see a generation saying, dang, man, we finished. Alright? And it's going to come a point that, guess what? Since majority of the people is already in line, if you don't want to fall in line and be like them, there's going to come a point where you're going to have to die. But that's why, we got to be like Judas Maccabees and our forefathers and stand boldly for the law.
That's right.
Good point.
Go to First Maccabees chapter 4 and verse, go back. Let's finish it off real quick. We'll go down like 2 more verses.
It's the book of First Maccabees, chapter 1, and
49.
verse 49. To the end that they might forget the law and change all the ordinances. And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said he should die. In the selfsame manner wrote he to his whole kingdom and appointed overseers over all the people, commanding the cities of Judah to sacrifice city by city. Then many of the people were gathered unto them, to wit, every one that forsook the law, and so they committed evils in the land.
Real quick, and again, just to further prove that these are the so-called, it's like these are the same so-called white men back on earth. Because that's exactly what they did during slavery. Right? They made them sacrifice in the name of Caesar Borgia. They literally set up so-called, Christians, right, to teach the Bible their type of way. They profaned our sacrifice, like they profaned us all over again. That's the point I'm getting at. You got to draw the correlation or draw the lines and the parallels to understand that this is so-called white man all over again. Go ahead.
Verse 53, and drove the Israelites into secret places, when even wheresoever they could flee for succor. Now, the 15th day of the month, Caslu, in the 145th year, they set up an abomination of desolation upon the altar, and builded idol altars throughout the cities of Judah on every side, and burnt incense at the doors of the houses and in the streets. And when they had rent in pieces the books of the law which they found, they burnt them with fire. And whatsoever was found with the book of the testament, or if any consented to the law, the king's commandment was that they should put him to death.
That's right. And again, this is just going in depth on the abomination of desolation. Go to 2 Maccabees chapter 6, verse 1.
It's the book of 2 Maccabees, chapter 6 and verse 1. Not long after this, the king sent an old man of Athens to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers, and not to live after the laws of God.
Right.
And to pollute also the temple in Jerusalem, and to call it the temple of Jupiter, Olympius, and that in Gazrim, of Jupiter, the defender of strangers, as they did desire that dwelt in the place.
Right. So they even set up Zeus. That's who Jupiter is. Right. So you can go to 1 Maccabees chapter 2. First Maccabees chapter 2 and read 2 down to verse 6.
The book of 1 Maccabees chapter 2 and verse 2. And he had 5 sons, Jonathan called...
It's like you start verse 1.
The book of 1 Maccabees chapter 2 and verse 1. In those days arose Mattathias, the son of John, the son of Simeon, the priest of the sons of Jorib from Jerusalem, and dwelt in Modin. And he had 5 sons, Jonathan called Cadiz, Simon called Dasi, Judas, who was called Maccabeus, Eleazar called Aran, and Jonathan, whose surname was Apis. And when he had saw the blasphemies that were committed in Judah and Jerusalem, he said, Woe is me! Wherefore was I born to see the misery of my people?
That's a heavy thing to say. Was I born to see the misery of my people? Go ahead.
And of the holy city, and to dwell there, when it was delivered into the hand of the enemy, and the sanctuary into the hand of strangers? Her temple is become as a man without glory. Her glorious vessels are carried away into captivity. Her infants are slain in the streets. Her young men with the sword of the enemy. What nation had not part in her kingdom, and have gotten of her spoils?
Right, and that's applicable unto this very day. What nation has not had a part? That ties into Revelation chapter 18. Go ahead.
Verse 11. All her ornaments were taken away of a free woman. She has become as a bondslave. And behold, our sanctuary, even our beauty, and our glory is laid waste, and the Gentiles have profaned it. To what end therefore shall we live any longer? Then Matthias and his sons rent their clothes and put on sackcloth and mourn very sore.
So it wasn't happening. This is another come from who's who in the Bible, right? This is Judas Maccabeus. At the death of his father, the priest Mattathias, in 166 BC, Judas Maccabeus became the leader of the Jewish revolt and rebellion against the oppressive policies of Antiochus IV Epiphanes. The Seleucid king of Assyria, Judas' second name means the hammer, was later collectively applied to all the sons of Mattathias, the Maccabees, and to the uprising they led. The Maccabean revolt or war, although he was an amateur fighting against professional soldiers, always trying to water him down. I mean, he was skilled. Let's be honest, he was skilled.
Right.
Esau was mad that they had the right to the amateurs. No, he wasn't. Stop it. Judas enjoyed early success on the battlefield, operating out of the hills of Judea. His guerrilla forces began to strike at the accompanying armies of the Seleucids, whose home base was Antioch in Syria. In his first victory and ambush of the Assyrian commander Apollonius, Judas seized his slain enemy's sword and used it in battle the rest of his life. We read that in 1 Maccabees 3. He next defeated the Syrian general Seron at Bethhoron, northwest of Jerusalem. And I don't believe this is mentioned in the scriptures. Meanwhile, preoccupied with the company against the Parthians, Antiochus charged his chief minister, Lysias, with the task of crushing the Nettlesome right by France. And again, history just goes on and on and on. It's very in-depth. And it actually shows the house of the Maccabees, the actual father and tree, and that's like in the genealogy. I had John, Simon, Judas, Eleazar, and Jonathan. And how Simon had another Mattathias, Judas, and John had Carinus. And how John had Carinus, the first had Aristobulus, Antigonus, Salome, Alexandra, so on and so forth. With that, you got something to say? We're going to dive towards the end. Because again, time will fail us to go over all the history and the wins that they had. There's a lot of wars.
We go to 1 Maccabees 9-22. Right, that's the precept I wanted to bring out earlier, man. We'll be here all day going into this. And you don't want to overfill yourself. That's you vomit everything up that you learned today. I can read that.
It's the book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 9 and verse 22. As for the other things concerning Judas and his wars, and the noble acts which he did, and his greatness, they are not written, but they were very, very many.
See that? They wasn't even written because it was too much, man. It's like the miracles of Yahweh Shaddai. There's certain miracles we would just never know about. Why? Because, it can't contain all the miracles that he did. Same thing with Judas Maccabees and his acts and his greatness. We just not going to know about it. It's too much. All right?
You can read, we'll close out with this chapter. Not read the entire chapter, but we'll close out with this. You can start at 1 Maccabees chapter 4, verse 51.
It's the book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 4 and verse 51. Furthermore, they said
50.
50.
It's like it. 48.
It's the book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 4 and verse 48. And made up the sanctuary and the things that were within the temple, and the hollowed the courts. They made also new holy vessels into the temple. They brought the candlestick and the altar of burnt offerings, and of incense, and the table. And upon the altar they burnt incense, and the lamps, that were upon the candlestick they lightened, that they might give light in the temple.
Go ahead.
Furthermore, they set loaves upon the table, and spread out the veils, and finished all the works which they had begun to make. Now on the 5th and 20th day of the 9th month, which is called the month Casliu, in the 140th and 8th year, they rose up betimes in the morning, and offered sacrifice according to the law, upon the new altar of burnt offerings which they had made. Look at what time and what day the heathen have profaned it. Even in that was it dedicated with songs and chithrons and harps and cymbals. Then all the people fell upon their faces, worshiping and praising the Most High of heaven, who had given them good success. And so they kept the dedication of the altar 8 days.
How many days?
8 days.
Go ahead.
And offered burnt offerings with gladness, and sacrificed the sacrifice of deliverance and praise.
Right, so I don't want to see one brother with a sad face today.
Right.
I don't want to see no brother thinking about, oh, dude, my taxes, my car, my woman, I don't want to hear that. I want to hear nothing but joy and laughing and mirth. It's a day for joy, laughing, and mirth. Right? If you have now one day this week to be in mirth, this is the day. Go ahead.
Verse 57. They decked also the forefront of the temple with crowns of gold, and with shields, and the gates and the chambers they renewed, and hanged doors upon them. Thus was there very great gladness among the people, for that the reproach of the heathen was put away. Moreover, Judas and his brethren with the whole congregation of Israel ordained that the days of the dedication of the altar should be kept in their season from year to year, by space of 8 days, from the 5th and 20th day of the month Casliu, with mirth and with gladness.
With mirth and with gladness. It doesn't have to be written in the Torah for us to know and understand that this is the commandment to do and to keep. Even in the beginning of the lesson, we brought out Yahushua, he kept it. Go ahead.
Verse 60. At that time also they builded up the Mount Zion with high walls and strong towers round about, lest the Gentiles should come and tread it down, as they had done before. And they had set there a garrison to keep it, and fortified Besserah to preserve it, that the people might have a defense against Idumea.
Against the Edomites. And of course you can read about them in the next chapter, but again, time will fail us. Therefore we have to abridge this lesson. I mean, there's so much history as we keep repeating. It's just endless amounts of history. Right? This is pretty edifying history lesson as well, this video. But again, you bring out Matthew, it's like John 10 and 22. And then
The book of John, chapter 10 and verse 22. And it was at Jerusalem, the feast of the dedication, and it was winter. And Yahushua walked in the temple of Solomon's porch. Then came the Jews round about him and said unto him, How long dost thou make us to doubt? If thou be the Christ, tell us plainly. Yahushua answered them, I told you, and ye believe not. The works that I do in my Father's name, they bear witness of me. But ye believe not, because ye are not of my sheep, as I said unto you. My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me.
That's right. So if you follow on Yahushua, you're going to keep the feast day too. You're going to follow him in that. You're going to follow him in prayer, follow him in fasting, follow him in keeping the fruits.
Now we go to Sirach 14 and 14.
It's the book of Sirach, chapter 14 and verse 14. Defraud not thyself of the good day.
What the Lord said?
Defraud not thyself of the good day.
Don't be sad.
Defraud not thyself of the good day.
Hey, we got the 1611 is really talking about the feast day. Alright? You don't want to defraud yourself of the feast days of the Lord. Alright? Because a lot of people, they don't make it into the next feast day, man. Right? Just being honest, you see certain brothers that was here on the last feast of dedication, they're not here anymore. So we got to be grateful for these feasts, man. All right? We can't defraud ourselves at a feast day. Chiefly the feast of dedication. Read on.
and let not the part of a good desire overpass thee.
Right, you don't want to let that overpass, man. So tonight you want to make sure you turn up in righteousness. All right, make sure you enjoy yourself. You enjoy your family. You enjoy your brothers, because you don't know when the last time you might see this or have this type of moment again. All right.
Right. You bring out Luke chapter 7. That's what I did. Yeah, you bring out Luke 7 and 44.
It's the book of Luke, chapter 7, verse 44. And he turned to the woman and said unto Simon, Seest thou this woman? I entered into thy house. Thou gavest me no water for my feet, but she hath washed my feet with tears and wiped them with the hairs of her head. Thou gavest me no kiss, but this woman, since the time I came in, hath not ceased to kiss my feet. Mine head with oil thou didst not anoint, but this woman anointed my feet with ointment. Wherefore I say unto thee, her sins, which are many, are forgiven. For she loved much, but to whom little is forgiven, the same loveth little.
That's right. So your works and your actions shows how much you love the Lord. Right. In similar fashion in the scripture, right, we see her kissing the Lord's feet, anointing him, doing everything she can for him. That's loving the Lord. And if you love him a whole lot with all thine heart, with all thy soul, and with all thy might, I mean, the Lord's going to forgive you for your sins. He's going to wink at them. He's going to make that scarlet wholly white. But you have to ask yourself, well, how much am I going to love the Lord today? I mean, it said being mirth, but that's not a commandment, really. I mean, I don't really see it in the Torah. Christ didn't really say, oh, we got to be in mirth today. Right. Literally. So once you keep the commandments, it's like once you love the Lord, it's like by keeping the commandments, you're loving the Lord. So keep that in mind during this feast week. Yeah, you're going to have hard days, you're going to have captivity. But you should end your day with preparing some food and thanking the Lord and being joyful and remembering the days of old. Can't let Esau have that much power to just strip you from your joy. I mean, this tells us in Romans, the 8th chapter, I believe, right? Who shall separate us from Christ? You're going to let Esau separate you from Christ and keeping the feast days? Right. You got it, King? You trying to bring that out, Robert Sharp? I'll close out with that.
It's the book of Romans, chapter 8, and verse 35. Who shall separate us from the love of Hamashiach? Shall tribulation, or distress, or persecution, or famine, or nakedness, or peril, or sword? As it is written, for thy sake are we killed all the day long. We are accounted as sheep for the slaughter. Nay, in all things we are more than conquerors through him that loved us. For I am persuaded that neither death, nor life, nor angels, nor principalities, nor powers, nor things present, nor things to come, nor height, nor depth, nor any other creature shall be able to separate us from the love of the Most High, which is in Hamashiach Yahushua, our Lord.
And that's deep. He said, nay, in all these things we are more than conquerors through him that loved us. And nothing is going to prevent us or persuade us, neither the things present in this life. So with that, keep in mind that this is a joyful feast week. You're amongst brothers. Like-minded brothers. That's not going to give you an evil lie. That's not going to want to covet your shoes and your Jordans. One that doesn't want your rib, right? One that doesn't want your job, and your car, and your glasses, and your earrings. What else? Fringes. Yeah, your fringes. Your do-rag. Right? So with that, Kwame Yeshua. Kwame Yeshua. Kwame Yeshua. Kwame Yeshua. Kwame Yeshua. Kwame Yeshua.